Utility District Number 1 Board of Directors monthly meeting is now in session. The time is 7 p.m. The first item is the citizens' presentations. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the board on any matter, whether or not it is posted on the agenda. The board is not permitted to take action or discuss any presentations made to the board at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The board will hear presentations on specific agenda items prior to the board addressing those items. You may speak up to 3 minutes or the time limit determined by the president or presiding officer. To speak during this item, you must complete the speaker's form that includes the topics of your statement. Topics of presentation should be limited to matters over which the board has authority. Presentation materials to be provided to the board or displayed at the meeting using district audiovisual equipment must be submitted in advance in accordance with the District Order number 2014-1204B. We have one person who signed up to speak. Mr. Oza, a matter of information, last meeting we had 54 minutes of time which we spent discussing rate structures, and we had a lot of good questions and answers going back and forth from all directions. At the conclusion of the 54 minutes, the board made the decision that the information that you had to present was of no value to us in making our decision. Therefore, by unanimous vote, the board voted to continue with our current rate operations. So normally that would be sufficient for somebody to understand that we made the decision, but in your case, you're welcome to start. Your 3 minutes are on.
Thank you. This evening, Bill Rose, 219 Inverness. This evening, I'd like to address conservation pricing. As a reminder, this is the 10th month that winter averaging has been brought to your attention. Best management practices state water conservation pricing is the use of rate structures that discourage the inefficient use or waste of water. Structures is plural here. Best management practices refers to water price elasticities for single-family homes in Texas. There you will find customers concerned about their water bill focus on the total dollar amount. They're much less knowledgeable of the details of the water rate structure and its prices. Hence, the sewer charge can play a role in the economic price signal sent to customers to use water prudently. Water and Wastewater Price and Financing, a Comprehensive Guide, 3rd edition, states the relationship between the water and wastewater rate structures is critical for utilities that provide both water and wastewater service. Since water and wastewater charges are often combined in a single bill, utilities should compare the total water and wastewater bills to determine if the rate structures are going to provide the necessary conservation incentive. This is your rate structure for water. It's good. This is your commercial rate structure showing an overlay with sewer, and it's good. This is your residential rate structure. This is what the residential customer experiences, a declining block structure. But that's not the whole story. Knowing that winter averaging is net revenue neutral and that all users pay the same rate, which we figured out to be $3.23, spreading the rate across commercial shows a shortage of roughly $98,000. Spreading the required rate across residential also shows a shortage of approximately $240,000. Whoa. This is the time you should be saying, wait a minute. If winter averaging generates the same revenue that is currently generated, who's paying for this shortage now? And I'm glad you asked. Remember, I have to find my slide, here we go. Remember the customer, I showed you a slide a meeting or two ago, that paid $45 to process 1,000 gallons of sewage? Just like a bulldozer had scraped up all the green and stacked it on the left side of the rate chart, the shortage is being paid by additional sewer charges on outdoor water use by residential customers. This is a combined water sewerage rate average structure of together using winter averaging. And this slide is an overlay of current structure and winter averaging. You're currently in the red. Gentlemen, your current rate structure actually encourages consumption. Winter averaging will remove the red area and encourage conservation. If you support conservation pricing, you will implement winter averaging immediately. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you next month.
Good. clarification. What is your cost and flow rate that you're using for your calculations?
I think that's going to evolve into discussion, and that would have to be an.
No, it's not discussion, it's just clarification. You put something up there. What is the
Let me find
flow rate
back
and
on
volume?
this.
If you don't have it, that's fine.
You referring to this chart?
It's not whatever chart you want to pull up there. What are the numbers that you're using for
From the rate
base
order.
service charge and what the flow rate is?
This chart
You
is
don't have it.
volume
Is that-
only.
You don't have it?
This chart is volume only.
You don't have a base rate?
The base rate is not included on this chart. The base rate would not affect the calculations for either winter averaging or your
So-
current system.
So in your charts or your calculations, the base rate could be anything?
The base rate in my charts are left the way that it's currently done. It's
Thank you,
currently charged.
Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's just against the
Thank you.
rules for us to have a discussion at this point
Absolutely
in
right.
time.
Thank you, sir.
You know, he would be happy to give you that numbers, I'm sure, after the meeting.
I'd appreciate it if you could.
Next item's consent agenda. All matters listed as consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Item 1, consent agenda, consider and take appropriate action to approve the consent agenda. A, February 2015 check register. Item B, February the 2nd, 2015 special meeting minutes. Item C, February 17th, 2015 regular meeting minutes. Item D, resolution number 2015-0317, approving submittal of Water Smart application to the Association of Water Board Directors.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. It is, the consent agenda is approved. Now we'll move into our regular session. Consider and take appropriate action to approve the bid and award the contract for construction of sanitary sewer line relocation project at 1 Kirkwood Boulevard. Jennifer?
Yes, you all have a handout. The first page has half at the top, agenda item number 2. This is a developer is building a parking garage over at the Sabre building, and our sewer line is in an easement that they would like for us to abandon that portion of the easement and at their expense relocate that portion of the sewer line. So we've taken bids. The low bidder was North Texas Contracting in the amount of $88,282. They note on here that the difference between the first and second low bidder was $1,580.50. The bids were pretty close. There was one that was a little kind of out there, but we had, I believe, 6 companies that bid on this, so we got a real good turnout. But they are recommending that we go with the low bidder. I also want to just kind of let y'all know what happens after this. This is a relocation agreement like the one that we are still working on over in the Entrada area. But they will pay us give us a total check of the amount for the low bid plus 10% in case there are any change orders. The change orders will have to be recommended by the engineers and of course approved by the district. But that is how we will receive payment for this. Then we will directly pay the contractor, North Texas Contracting. So our recommendation is to go with the low bidder.
And discussion? Do I have a motion?
Well, I'll make the a motion that we approve the contract for the construction of the sanitary sewer line relocation project at 1 Kirkwood Boulevard, and also approve the bidder North Texas Contracting Incorporated for $88,282.
Not to exceed that amount.
Well, there's a 10%, well, there could be a change order up to 10%
Right.
more.
Okay. So you're just approving the 88?
I'll approve the 88, 282 plus the 10% possibility for, change orders.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Director Thomas?
Jennifer, just a question. In their cover letter, they state that Texas Contracting is Turner's subcontractor performing the utility work for the remainder of the Solana project. What does that mean?
They're doing a lot of work over there. They're doing some street improvements, some concrete work. I really don't know the whole project, but they're doing some remodeling of that building. And so this contractor is a subcontractor of the general contractor that is doing all the work for the developer.
Okay. Forgive me for a second. Which building specifically is it that they're doing this garage to?
The one right across T.W. King on this side of 114
Oh,
across.
it's in South Lake?
Used to be
Yes.
Sabre building.
Yeah,
It's in
that's-
South Lake.
that's
The
not-
Sabre building, it's empty right now.
One with the fountain that fills up every other week.
But that's not in our district, is it?
Yes, it is. I mean, I'm sorry, no, it is not. But
It's
our
just in
sewer
South-
line goes through
It's in
there.
South Lake.
It is in South Lake, yes.
Right. Okay. The only reason I said that, it said for the Solana project, and so that's not really in Solana.
Well, they call that area Solana too.
Okay, I just wanted clarification. Thanks.
Right.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Item 3, consider and take appropriate action to approve bid and award contract for the construction of lift station number 2 sewer line improvement project.
Okay, this is the sewer line relocation force main that we're going to be relocating that runs through the creek over by lift station number 2. And from the creek erosion, the line is exposed. So we wanted to get that moved out of the creek. We had budgeted $120,000 for this project. The recommended low bid was for $90,283. I believe the engineering portion of this was about $15,000. So even with the engineering, we will still be a little bit under budget on this project. But we do recommend that we go with Raymar Construction, the low bidder.
And you said the engineering cost has already been accounted for in our regular budget, right? The 15
Yes, all of this is budgeted in the $120,000, right?
Is this the one, I don't know how to explain because you're not a golfer. It's, you probably don't know Ben Brewster's. I'm thinking it's the house, it's the lift station. Well, guys, gonna
This is
mention the
Skyline,
pond. You
isn't it?
probably don't.
It's right on T.W. King Road.
Yeah, you have to actually drive out
T.W.
T.W.
That's not-
King.
You know where Skyline cul-de-sac goes in?
Yeah.
It's
right down there.
behind that house there.
Okay.
Jennifer, when you get it out of the creek, if you're standing at T.W. King looking back towards Indian Creek, are we going to put that thing on the left side of the creek or the right side of the creek?
On the left side.
Okay, because there's
Like-
a lot more
Yeah, the
land there that
lift
that
station
would
side, right? Okay.
Be a lot less disruptive, I think, to everybody to have it there. And then are you going to take it? Is it going to then just cross underneath the creek at one spot? Are you going to angle it, or are you going to elbow it, or how are you going to cross it?
Basically, they're going to tie in the manhole that's there existing. They're going to, instead of coming through the creek, they're going to make a straight line, make a new manhole, and then come into the lift station that way. So instead of
So it
coming,
will be a straight line. You're not going to have to bend it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Raymar Construction for $90,283 for Trophy Club Utility District Number 1 at Lift Station 2.
I'd second it.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Item 4, consider and take appropriate action to approve request by the Town of Trophy Club to prepare a plat for the submittal to the town for the property where the collections barn is located to allow for mail delivery to the site. Jennifer?
This was a request by Tony with the Parks Department. They use the building out there, and he approached me to see if we would be willing to plat the property. He's tried to get mail delivery out there, and what he's been told by the post office is that until the property's platted, they won't have GPS coordinates, so they can't deliver mail until it's platted. And I told him that we really didn't have any need for that ourselves. And so, because he asked if we would be willing to, help fund platting it. And I told him we didn't really have any need for that. He wants to see if if the town and the Parks Department, I guess, if they can find the money to do the platting. It would require some engineering drawings and things. He provided a copy of a plat checklist. And so someone would have to complete this. The plat has to be submitted by the property owner, which is the MUD, to the town. So this was just to see if this is something y'all are interested in getting that property platted.
Jennifer, does the maintenance facility for Club Corp for the golf course, which is right next door to it, do they get mail delivery?
I don't know.
I just have a couple things. Number one, the council didn't even know about this. If the town is wanting something and it come to us as a personal feeling, I think all the mail should come through here. I mean, what if a bill comes and then it gets stuck in the plant? But that's not my call on their mail. So I make a motion that we don't approve this plat request.
Okay. Comments or a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, request for this should come through the town. I mean, if the town feels like this is viable and they want to fund the cost of the plat, the request ought to come from them.
I'm not sure that the town really feels like they should be getting mail out there. I mean, we've never heard anything about it before, and okay, if there's no further discussion, the motion has been made and seconded that we do not approve this. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Item 5, consider and take appropriate action regarding unauthorized discharge to sanitary sewer system by BDMR Development, LLP, on January 22nd, 23rd, 2015, including A, status of payment for damages, B, approve financial security for potential fines from regulatory authorities, C, other appropriate action related to the rectification of the damage and problem caused by the unauthorized discharge, including but not limited to insurance claims.
Okay, I just want to start with an update. We did receive the payment for damages of $17,000 and some change. The invoice that we had sent to them, we did receive that payment last week. Or was that this week? No, that was last week, wasn't it? Yeah. My time's running together, but I think it was last week. I've also spoke with the contractor a few times, and they have decided that what they feel will work best for them is to give a CD, to put a CD up. I've had Pam and Pritchard looking at this, and Pritchard has worked up an agreement. We only received that late this afternoon, so Pam and I want some time to kind of look through it and bring it back to y'all we're going to be setting a special meeting in a few weeks, so we thought we could bring that back to you at that time. And to cover, it would be an agreement that we would hold the CD in our name for a period of 3 years. And if they're willing to sign that agreement, we could do that, and that would be a financial security. Pam, do you have anything you want to say about the agreement, or?
No, I'm just going to be looking at that. Pritchard asked me to take a look, and so we're going to be, hopefully, did you just say for the special meeting in April?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
What action is required then tonight?
No, none. We didn't know where we would be with all of this, so I just wanted to make sure it was on the agenda just in case we were all good to go and we needed some action. But I guess the only thing unless there's some concern of using a CD as a financial security, really there's no action necessary.
I I just have something. I just want to thank BDMR and the contractor, subcontractor, for stepping up and correcting an error on their part as far as the construction of the line. I mean, accidents happen. They did the right thing. They stepped up to the plate. They made it right. And going forward, you know, those are the type of people we want to work with. So thank you very much.
Yes, and I will say their contractor THB, they've been very cooperative and very good with this. So I agree with that.
Jennifer, would it be appropriate to send them a letter, a note saying that we appreciate
Sure.
the way they've approached this? I would certainly like to suggest that if I can. Pam, do we have to table this or just ignore it or what?
No, Jennifer gave you an update, and we can finish that up in April. There's no need to do anything on it.
Action.
I was just confirming the date that check came in also. It was the 12th.
Okay.
Item number 6, consider and take appropriate action to approve resolution number 2015-0317A, supporting the nomination of a district director to the Association of Water Board Directors, AWBD Board of Trustees. Do we have a nomination?
Well, does anyone want to? I mean,
Does
Jim's on
anybody,
it now.
who wants the job? I think,
Just speak up now.
Well, I think I'd send a note out to everyone. I'm in the midst of a big effort in North Texas that I'm sponsoring. I'd kind of like to see it through to conclusion. And I can only serve, by the way, one more term, and then I have to drop off anyway. So if it's in the board's favor, I would like to try for service 2 more years.
Jim Hayes or Jim Moss? I don't know. You don't want to do it.
no,
I don't
I'm
want
not,
to.
I have no interest. Anybody else
You have any
interested?
interest, Neil?
Well, I have an interest, but I think Jim's been on there for the 4 years, so, and he's expressed an interest of continuing on. There's a 6-year term limitation. So this will be, which is 3 2-year terms.
This will be my last term.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
If I'm elected, it'll be my last term.
okay, I nominate Director Thomas
I'll
serve
second
as
it.
our representative on the Board of, AWBD Board of Directors. It's been made and seconded. All those in favor? We're in favor. Mr. Thomas, you're also in favor, I presume.
Thank you. And by the way, Jennifer, I need to get the vote on the motion that I can send to AWBD as part of my package. It's required that I do
Well,
that.
then I.
Yes, I was going to suggest that we do a second, that you all do a second motion to approve the resolution nominating or supporting the nomination of Director Thomas.
I'll make the motion that we approve for the AWBD nomination of Jim Thomas, a resolution number, let's see, sorry, I've lost my place here,
2015-0317A.
Right.
17A. And thank you, the other Jim Hayes, again, 215-0317A.
Okay,
Second.
motion, second?
Second.
Motion and made, seconded by, and is there any discussion further? If not, all of those in favor of the motion, it is unanimous.
I would like to say thank you.
When's the election? At the board meeting?
At the
June.
first day of the summer conference. By the way, I would like to say thank you very much.
Laura, did you get the wording on all that?
Yes.
And then Jim
Good.
Thomas, on the first motion that Jim Moss made, you did vote affirmatively on your nomination.
Did I didn't put my hand up?
I didn't see it.
Okay. Consider and take appropriate action regarding annexation matters. A, approve petition for annexation of approximately 6.3702 acres of land situated in the J. Henry Survey, abstract number 529, Town of Trophy Club, Denton County, Texas, as submitted by the corporation of the presiding bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, a Utah corporation sole. Item B, consider adoption of order number 2015-0317A, approving annexation of approximately 6.3702 acres of land situated in the J. Henry Survey, abstract number 529, Town of Trophy Club, Denton County, Texas, as submitted by the corporation of the presiding bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, a Utah corporation sole. You know, I thought I said the same thing twice, but
One's in order, one's every.
Okay. You-
petition.
Does anybody that understands it wish to make a,
I think we just have to approve the order, or?
You accept their petition or you approve their petition through a vote in the item A. Then you approve the order,
And B.
adopt the order that approves the annexation.
All right, I'll make.
Deanie and I are waiting with bated breath for this, so.
I'll make the motion that we approve the petition for annexation regarding the 6.3702 acres, which is basically the Church of Latter-day Saints inside Trophy Club.
One second.
we have a motion and a second? Any discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, it is unanimous.
And I'll also make the motion regarding that we approve order 2015-317A regarding the same 6.3702 acres, that it be, the order would be that it becomes part of the Trophy Club mud.
Motion, second?
Second.
Motion's been made and
I
seconded.
got
Questions?
a question. Is that property directly to the west of the church, is that annexed yet?
Yeah. The village.
Yes.
Yeah.
The property that's right adjacent to it? Yes.
November, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
that's all I had.
yeah. So
Motion and a second?
There
comment?
wasn't any delays on our part. It was just the church coming for a request to annexation. There's been things put out on certain avenues that said that the delay possibly could have been from water or fire or something like that, and that wasn't the case with you, was it, Danny? Yeah, so, okay.
Okay, thank you. If no further discussion, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, it is unanimous.
Jim, associated with that, Jennifer, are there any other parcels in Trophy Club that are not annexed into?
Gas wells.
The gas wells.
Yes, as a matter of fact, in your packet on down in the manager's report, or the fire report, one of our reports, I attached a map that we can look at in a little bit
Okay,
that
thank
shows the properties that still are outside the mud and the PID.
A very well put together map.
Thank you.
I know. She stayed within the lines, too. That's very good.
Okay, item number 8, consider and take appropriate action to approve resolution number 2015-0317B, adopting Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1 safety policy. Discussion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the safety policy as called out for in the agenda, just for discussion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, particularly because of some of the emails been going around. As far as I'm concerned, our general manager should be the person who's dealing with this, and the people she designates in her staff. I'm particularly a little bit dismayed that we have somebody who, when I first got on a mud board, I was told that a director doesn't say or do anything without the consent of the entire board. When I got onto this mud board, I also talked to the president and said, look, anything I'm going to ask for, anything I'm going to do, I'm going to copy you on, and I'm going to discuss with you before I go ahead. And so, for the most part, I think I've been able to hold up on that. Regarding these emails that are going around, I just don't see where we had any discussion regarding going to outside sources. Again, I have full faith and credit, and we have a really great general manager running the mud district right now, and I think for anybody to take any individual action is not conducive to the good order of the mud. And I don't know, I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but we have a person who runs the day-to-day operations. And we're here as a board to give oversight and direction. And there's always unique situations, and I recognize that, but we should be letting our general manager manage, run, bring things to us for us to consider. And our sole responsibility, which as the oversight, is to support her in any way possible. And I think what I saw the last couple of days, I don't think that's being supportive, my opinion.
Okay.
I have a question of Jennifer. On this document, obviously, you've had, through your 20-plus years of experience, you've obtained this from, other MUDs or other companies or whatever. Is that correct?
What this is a template that's put together by Texas Municipal League. It's used by cities and districts, their members, their group that does the workman's comp, the risk pool. They put it together. Many years ago, I was on a committee with them. The document itself is huge because it's for every kind of aspect of a city. Being there's areas related to streets, to fleet management, things that we don't really get into so much. Utilities don't, but it's a good document, and so we wanted to trim it down just for utilities to use, just to kind of deal with the issues that we deal with at a utility, water and wastewater, but also some facilities maintenance. Our guys paint, our guys work in the shop, those sort of things. So we went through this huge document and tried to narrow it down to just the areas that we thought were important for a utility. And this is the end result with some modifications for any district. I mean, ours is not going to look just like another MUD district's because we have different equipment, we have different needs, different types of PPE that we would use for, or whether we provide it or if the employees required to get it. So it's just a template that's put together, but it is a group of people in the industry that work only with districts and cities. Texas Municipal League, as you know, they only insure governmental entities. So this is kind of geared for us in Texas, and that was the basis of the document.
Yeah, does anybody have anything specific in the document that they would care to question?
I think it's a document that's going to continue to get revised. I guess the question I have, after seeing some comments by Director Thomas, are there standards or procedures that are referenced in this document that have been updated? Has anyone fact-checked that or see if there's
Let me say this. It was only this past year that actually it was a Parks employee, I believe, that contacted the Texas Department of Health because they felt that they were being, or maybe it was a streets employee, felt that they were being exposed to some sort of chemical, and they had not, their complaint was that they had not had the right to know training. When TDH came in, they asked to see us because we are the entity that files a Tier 2 report, and they weren't aware there was a difference. Fortunately, we had everything we were supposed to have, our policy on right to know, that very policy, and we had no issues with Texas Department of Health. But we do the training annually. And so I do know that, yes, from the last time we did the training this last year, I think one of Mr. Thomas's comments was that they've changed the name from MSDS to SDS. It's all the same thing. I mean, in the law itself, I think the policy covers the intent of the law. I can certainly go in and try to, I'll be happy to get with Mr. Ratter on that, on what would make that specific part of the policy better, if that's what you all would like for me to do on that part. But I think that the policy we have, I think we didn't get in trouble for not even having a written policy that we should have had, because we only had something that addressed the right to know.
I guess what I'm asking, you know, I mean, I appreciate what you said, but is there gonna be, annual, you know, update or revision?
I think it's a live document, just like our personnel policy, our rate order. But what I wanted to do, the whole goal here, was to get something out here for the board to approve that becomes a district policy, not just some operational procedure thought up by the general manager, but something with some teeth in it. Because I want my employees to know that we're really, really serious about safety. And if you don't follow the safety rules, that's a reason to not work at the district. I want it to be a real strong policy with some teeth in it, so that these guys know we're serious, and they can turn around and use that to help them in their day-to-day jobs with their employees. If you don't have anything written, you don't have a policy, and you tell a person, hey, you're not supposed to do that job without goggles on, they're going to say, really? Show me where I'm not supposed to do that job. You know, this is something on the books, ready to go. But yes, I think that things change. We're going to have different tools. We're going to have different needs. So yes, this is a live document, and it will be brought back. Actually, there's a section in there that allows for the general manager to make changes to the policy without having to bring it back to the board every time. But that once a year, the board will again approve the policy, just like we do our personnel policy. Let's make this an annual event that we all look at it together. And if you have some specific sections you want us to look at specifically, I'll be happy to do that.
Jim, let me say something.
Director Thomas?
Neil, when something comes to your attention, I know you are not saying that we should ignore things. I know you're not saying that. Now, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I do not know why, but in your email where you said this was sent out 2 weeks ago, I did not get it 2 weeks ago. This document is what, 70, 80 pages long? Roughly?
Yeah, it's pretty long, yes.
I mean, you know, I'm getting ready to look at my packet, and I see this thing in there that's 80 pages long that I've never seen before. Forgive me, I have a grandson that was coming in over the weekend that I'm committed to spend time with, and I didn't have time to read an 80-page document line by line by line. But as a mud board director, I have a responsibility to do that. You know, because if we approve this, and you are our staff, you are extremely valuable. I have extreme confidence in you. Now, I had a citizen, all of you know, Bob Rader, call me. He'll have to explain to you why he picked me, but he called me over the weekend. He did not have Jennifer's phone number, did not know how to reach her over the weekend. But he called me, and he had some expressed concerns about the document. I listened, and I took notes. And when I got through with those notes, then I sent out an email of the notes. I am not a safety engineer, guys. I mean, this is a very complex document. I'm not a safety engineer, all right? But Bob specializes in this field, so I'm just going to say if he cares to say anything, he may choose not to. I would invite him to do so because he does work in this field. He can tell you about his own credentials, and he can tell you about what he thinks would make this a better document. So what hit me was, and Jennifer, I'm sorry, if I had supposed to have seen this thing 2 weeks ago, I'm just sorry, I didn't. What hits me was, if this thing has got some things in it that could be made better, is it that critical that we have to approve it tonight, or can we make it better and then approve it? Now, having said that, Bob, if you want to say anything, I would invite you to.
Mr. Ryder, I believe you have to fill out a request to speak. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but unfortunately, that's the rules.
Now, by the way, just for y'all's information, I have been busy with my grandson, you know, entertaining him. I did do my best to set up an opportunity for Bob and Jennifer to talk, but they were not able to get together.
Jennifer, As Mr. Thomas said, I did not have your phone number. I do this for a living. And after I read the document, there are a few things that need to be fixed before you approve this. You talked about the MSDS. Global harmonization. In 2012, OSHA revised its hazard communication standard, incorporating the United Nations globally harmonized systems of classification and labeling of chemicals, GHS. This system standardizes the classification of chemicals and provides a consistent approach towards communicating hazard information on labels and safety data sheets, as they're called now. Part of that involves, and I have a full training program on this, part of that involves what took place last June, what took place the year before, and what took place January 1st of this year, and what will also take place on June 1st of 2015, the requirements of this particular OSHA standard. I am deeply sorry that I may have offended you in the way we went about it, but I also did call you yesterday morning and this morning to try to sit down and talk to you about this to make this a better document. I have been in the field of safety for over 30 years. Prior to that, I was 15 years on the San Diego Fire Department. I do this daily. I'm responsible for the safety of nearly 5,000 people that my company is co-employed with. I've given this training session before. I give it on bloodborne pathogens. I give it on lockout tagout. I give it on a number of things. I'm OSHA 10 certified, OSHA 30 certified, and I have enough. I mean, this is just page 1 of my credentials curriculum vitae. I'm not going to bore you with that entire list. But I am open, if you are open to sitting down with me at your convenience. And by the way, Mr. Thomas had noted concern, would there be a problem with my employer? There is none. I sat down with my boss, and he said there will be no conflict of interest because I'm doing this on my own time. And all the documents and all these training programs and these other things that I've written, I've created. And most recently, last week, I was in Arkansas. I had to go to Arkansas because I'm approved in a number of other states as a approved professional safety source. Arkansas just blessed me again. I just had, because I was 15 years since I was out there, I had to do it again. They lost my email address. I'm approved in Texas as a field safety representative and in Oklahoma. I have the credentials. I didn't make this up. And I'm willing to provide a safe and healthful workplace for our MUD employees if the two of us can sit down together and work on this. Any questions, gentlemen?
Bob, if I can
Jennifer?
make a suggestion, we have a document which is subject for voting tonight. If you have recommendations, suggestions, you're welcome to take that document and make suggestions to bring back to us on changes that you should be made on it, so we can be a little more specific than just the general statements. We'd be happy to have that if you're willing to do that.
I can, but if you approve this tonight, you will be non-compliant. I've already contacted the state legislature. That section 502, I believe it is, in the Health and Safety Code was written in 1993, and I've already contacted several people down there in Austin to get this updated because it's non-compliant with OSHA standards and the OSHA requirements.
Well, you understand that we are not under OSHA requirements. So, and I'm only saying that. I don't say that I don't think that my employees should practice safety and go through the OSHA guidelines. But I don't want it said that we will be non-compliant because we don't have to comply. We are not OSHA regulated. We are government. So I want to make sure I say that because I don't want a misunderstanding that if the board were to approve this document, we would be non-compliant. We don't have a document at all
All right.
at this time.
what you have in this document that you have, and I took the time to read it, you refer to OSHA standards several times. And if you refer to OSHA standards, you're then opening yourself up and making yourself compliant to the standards, such as the lockout tagout.
Bob, we are not going
And
to solve anything.
We're not going to
tonight.
solve anything now, but what I would like you asked for a couple examples. Material safety data sheets. The state is fixing that. And if someone gets hurt, someone dies, you then fall under OSHA, workplace safety, and that's federal law.
And I'd like to follow up on my request, Bob, if you would, you've read our document, so if you would take it, if there are recommendations that you would like to make, things that you think should be changed in it, we'd be very happy for you to bring that to us.
I would, if Jennifer, you want to sit down and go over this?
Well,
I
think-
have no problem
I
with
think
that.
we need something in writing that the board can look at, because we
another-
have to understand it.
I understand.
And
There's
just
another,
your sitting down and talking with her is not gonna help the board any.
all right.
You follow what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Well, short of the global harmonization, the lockout tagout is 1910-147. That's an OSHA standard, which you refer to in your document. And personal protective equipment, you do.
Do y'all have, Deanie, does your group have a document that Mr. Ratter's helped with that I'm just asking, is there something I can look at and that'll give me an idea of where we're gonna move to?
Have a safety policy, where's their safety?
All right. I don't know why you're asking Danny, because Danny and I never talked about a safety policy or
Okay.
anything.
No, I was
But
not
there's two-
asking if he worked with you. I'm just asking if there is one that with the requirements that you're suggesting.
I write them every day.
Right.
Now, I can provide you with, there's two levels what you're dealing with here. One is a safety plan. That is what delineates responsibility. That responsibility is incumbent upon you and your supervisors. And it talks about who does what when. The very bottom of that, the very last section on that will be, and the statement is, and I'll paraphrase, what you may be required to provide training for. And that training could be bloodborne pathogens, SDS, lockout tagout, confined space entry, hazardous materials, personal protective equipment. I can provide you with that information, but you're going to have a health and safety plan and then a health and safety policies and procedures. The health and safety plan and the policies and procedures do not overlap. Just that
Thank
last
you,
part.
Mr. Ryder. I think.
And I think I'll kind of just put this back to the board. If you all would like, we can certainly, there is not an impending deadline that we have to get this safety policy approved. If you all would like to have additional time to look over it, and then if you want to make a decision that you would like for me to get with Mr. Ratter and redo the policy, we can certainly do that. I'm just going to kind of leave it to y'all as to how you'd like to move with this.
Okay,
I was just trying to get a policy put out there since we don't have one at all.
We have a motion and a second before the board. The first item of business would be to vote on that motion.
I just want to say something real quick. As Jennifer just mentioned, we don't have anything right now, so does that make us non-compliant? No. This is a starting point, and as we mentioned before, it can be revised. If Mr. Ratter comes up with some things and suggestions, his board approves it, it can be revised. So, let's vote.
Okay. Any other comment,
Yes,
Director Thomas?
I'm disappointed because I think there are personality issues in play here that are causing us to move forward when a delay of only 30 days with an offer from someone who has the credentials and is willing to do it for free takes what is a good idea, I'm not questioning that at all, and helps us become very comfortable that we've got it phrased the best way we can possibly phrase it. Now, I'll ask this question. Jennifer, do you have anybody that's safety certified on your staff? Certified?
I do not.
Well, you got a certified individual willing to help.
I do have a question. If I could get the document in Word form and do the editing, in about a week, I could have you a document along with a safety plan and a policy and procedure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second before us. We'll now call for the vote. All of those in favor of approving the safety program? There's 4 in favor, and those opposed? Director Thomas is opposed, 4 in favor, 1 opposed. This, of course, does not mean that we can't modify, change, add to, or whatever we wish to do in the future.
And I appreciate the offer by Mr. Ratter to contribute to revising where needed.
But we have something on the board that we never had before. We never had anything. At least we've got something now to work with. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Item 9, consider and take appropriate action to approve resolution number 2015-0317C, adopting amended Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1 Personnel Policy Manual. Jennifer?
Do y'all have any specific questions? I can go through this kind of page by page if you'd like. I think 90% of the changes are correcting titles and just kind of cleanup. If you recall, I would like for us to, on all of our policies, I like for us to look at them annually. I will say that last year we did not look at the personnel policy because we had only adopted it for the first time the year before that. So we wanted to have a little time for us to kind of work through it, see if there were some areas that needed to be changed, fixed up. And we did find a few places. So one of the important major changes, I guess, in here is a district vehicle use policy refers to the policy in our safety policy. It's a point system that we can now, we'll be looking at people's driving records, only those that are required to drive, of course. But we refer to the safety policy in the, for the vehicles. Terry, can you think of any of the other major changes we made in here?
No, you are absolutely right. The majority of the changes, over 90%, are simply title changes, and then there were some wording changes. There were no big significant changes in it except for what you've already referenced.
And you're not looking at directors' driving records, right?
Yes, we will be looking at those too.
Director Hayes has a comment.
Yeah, on page 8, paragraph 2.3, it refers to a administration manager. Who is that?
That's Terry.
Right there. She is.
Welcome to join us, Terry.
At least that's what her tag says there.
Okay.
Sure
and
does,
she's
doesn't
and she's the HR too. It rolls into one position.
We've had an opportunity to look at this, and but is there any other questions or comments that anyone has?
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2015-0317 and Charlie, adopting amended Trophy Club Utility District Number 1 Personnel Policy Manual.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Item 10, consider and take appropriate action to approve amended rate order number 2015-0317B.
Let me go back to that. I'm sorry. Hold on. Somehow I lost my page there.
98.
Okay. Okay, the major changes in the rate order are the cost of the construction meters was not, they've gone up significantly, so we had to increase the cost of the deposit on the meters.
Are those costs for the meters, are they to include the new technology, or have we not gone down that road yet for reading the meters we
Well,
talked about?
that's not the ones that we remote read. That's just the large construction meters that they put on the hydrants. The other major change to this is I added in our service to new development and extension of facilities policy that you all adopted last month. That I added into here so that with the fees, the fee that goes along with that is it is $150 application fee. And then there is a cost of $100 per lot for inspections. That's for when we go out and inspect the facilities during construction, the water and wastewater facilities. That's the only changes to the rate order.
Can we,
Was it already a minimum of 500 for inspection fees?
No, there were no inspection fees at all.
Okay.
can we make the changes for the name? I think some places it says district manager, where it should say general manager. One example, section 1.03.
Okay, yes, we can fix that. We keep missing those no matter how hard we look, so.
Title that won't die.
Yeah, so 1.03, but we can go through there if you approve this, you can direct us to change any, update any titles that need to be changed.
Do we have a motion?
No, I'm just gonna sit here for about an hour.
Okay. We're moving too fast, is that a problem?
I'll make the motion that we approve rate order 2015-0317B with the addition that any title changes, personnel title changes can be also made by the general manager.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is unanimous.
I think there's two of them, Jennifer.
Okay.
Sorry, what's the other one?
Just the district manager. I saw the one,
Oh,
then I
two
saw
of
the
them,
other.
yeah, okay. Okay, item number 11, consider and take appropriate action regarding 2015 financials. A, combined financials. B, variance report. Discussion.
I make a motion that we approve the February 2015 financials to include A, combined financials, and B, variance report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any question, discussions? If not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Item 12, consider and take appropriate action regarding development of customer communication brochure for dissemination to new customers. Jennifer?
Actually, this was an item requested by Director Thomas. He has some ideas that he would like to kind of run past the board on putting together a brochure that we can, in the years ago, or when I first came here, there was kind of a new customer packet. It was put together by the town, actually, and over time that kind of went away. There was a lot of upkeep to that. And I think that there is somewhat of a new customer packet on the town's website. I'm not 100% sure of that, but there used to be. But he would like for us to think about putting together a very nice, colorful brochure. And Jim, I'll let you describe what you have in mind.
Well, you pretty well described it. I mean, we used to have a welcome packet, and in that welcome packet, the mud had some materials that got placed in and it was a little shopping bag plastic thing that you could pick up, and it was given to everybody that came in. But people move into Trophy Club, and realtors do not say anything at all about mud districts and what you're faced with a mud district. And I think, I was just thinking back to when I moved here in 1984, and I had been in my house 2 days, and somebody came walking by and said, "Hey, we got this meeting to talk about your mud taxes." And my first reaction was, "What mud taxes?" So, we have a very homogeneous operations now with the town. We're working very well together. But there's still no information given to new homeowners that move in. And I don't mean new homes now. I mean new homeowners may move in and buy a used house that says, this is what this mud district's all about. This is short blurb on the history, and this is pertinent information so that you, as a homeowner, if you have a problem with water, if you have a problem with sewer, if you have a problem with fire services, you know where to go and the right spot to go to without having to wonder about it. So another board member originated this idea. I've just kind of carried it to Jennifer because I thought it was a good one. And by the way, coupled into it is as you've seen in the paper recently, there's been a big announcement. There's a major company that's come in and bought all of the Solana that MRDOT does not own. And they're going to start putting an awful lot of money into developing that area with the intent of selling it out to other people. And we already know from the data that we have compiled and presented to our commercial customers across the street that they save tens of thousands of dollars in buying water and sewer from us and paying our mud tax than they do in just buying water and sewer from Westlake. And as new companies start to come in across the street, we need to have something that we make them aware of this so that there's not any situations in the future like we're currently faced with.
Jim and I spoke about this topic, and I fully agree with what he has said, that the majority of the citizens really don't even know what the mud is or what they do, or that we're even here until something happens, a line breaks, or then they're referred to us, or they see our guys out doing exceptional work out there. And I think when people come and put their deposit down or ask for an account on a new house, that we have informational package with them and throw some of them little toys in there too and stuff. But I think that would be beneficial to at least let them know, hey, this is what a mud does, this is where you pay your bill, you can do it online. If you have emergencies, here's what you do. So I think it'd be very beneficial as far as communicating, what we do and where they have to go in case they have issues.
As a suggestion, would you all like to have me and Director Thomas, or two directors, whatever, work on putting together something to bring back next month that everyone could look at, just kind of a draft, and see if we're all going in the same direction on this?
I don't think it has to be next month, but whenever you're done and you feel it's a good product.
At your convenience.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do
I
that.
would like to add that I've had 5 of my neighbors complain about the brochures that came out last year, kind of pat ourselves on the back type brochures, and they resented the cost of what they interpreted as PR in favor of mud. And so I like the idea of passing out information. I don't think we ought to make any kind of political statement or anything close to that.
So we won't mention your name in there? Or,
Right, don't
okay.
Okay. I think it's a good idea. There is still a resident who has a position of the welcoming new people, and she's been doing this for a number of years. If we had such a communication and gave her copies of it, and even had her come in and spend an hour so we could explain what was on our brochure, I think it would be very good advertising. So I agree with the idea.
Well, I'm on the same page as Jim Hayes that, you don't want to put any spin like, hey, we're great and we have low cost, just purely informational. And they have to come here to open an account. So we could have a basket here, there's no mailing of it or something. But I agree with you. If there's Trophy Club as a town provides a welcoming basket or something like that, which I'm not aware of that, but we can put it with that too. But this is the starting point. They have to come and set up the accounts or pay a deposit, one or the other. when they get their water count, so, you know, we can have the baskets or.
Would you like to be on the committee?
Oh, no, 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 no.
And Jim, by the way, if, if we do a really, really quality document, it's the kind of thing that Jennifer can take and put on the website for anybody in town that has already moved in here and still kind of questions what the mud's all about can look at.
As
Okay.
long as your phone number is in there in big bold.
No, I don't have a phone anymore. I don't have one. I'd like to make a motion that we have Jennifer and Director Thomas work together over some period of time to develop documents such as we've talked about. I also would like to include in the motion that at the same time they put together the important information concerning cost and so forth, so that it can personally be hand-carried over to the new owners over in the Westlake area.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Director Toomey. I was getting worried.
Oh, I didn't know if you were done.
We were wondering when you were going to finish the motion.
Well, I wanted to get both of those in at the same time.
That's
We have a
fine.
motion and a second. Any further discussions? If there's no further discussions, we'll all call for the vote. It is unanimous. I think, Jennifer, when this has been completed, whenever, maybe it's a good idea to let the board see it before it goes out, which I did not include in my motion.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, reports and updates. Update from the board committees. Fire EMS Consolidation Committee.
Oh, that's us. Is Lou still here?
Lou, are you it?
I'll say, and Lou can chime in if there's anything different, or Neil. We met last night, and hold on a second. What is it?
It's different. That's the
Okay.
next.
And we had some assignments as far as financials. Danny gave a presentation on the org chart and the runs, and there was discussion on the options we have. And I just want to say one thing. Well, I'll say more than one, of course, but one specific thing that this committee, and it isn't even on the radar as far as outsourcing any part of it. Is that correct, Chief Thomas? Okay, so for anyone listening, watching the tape, there's never been any talk of EMS outsourcing, fire outsourcing. The word outsourcing has only come up with saying we're not talking about it. Is that correct, Lou?
Yes.
Okay, so we're all in agreement
Dismissed
there.
out of hand first, the first
Right,
few minutes of the
exactly.
first meeting.
We went over the financial, the assets of the, that the MUD has, which is about 3.1. The big thing is the fire station. We have equipment that is in that number. The town assets, it looks like it's what, 171, 173. We have benefits that we're doing comparison charts on, that we're awaiting the town's portion of that. The retirement system, we've gone over on the MUD side, haven't really gone in depth with the town side, and I think that's about it. Luke came up with a,
We set a, excuse me, remember, we set a timeline.
right,
We were gonna
very good point.
have it all evaluated by, I think it was the
7/15.
first, and then the 15th, we were gonna make our recommendations of
Correct.
July.
We're looking,
In time for
trying to-
budget, if there's any major
exactly,
changes.
trying to get it into, the if we're gonna do any changes or make any modifications to the way it is now, we're trying to get it to the respective boards by 7/15, July 15. So,
Is
yeah.
there general agreement, Kevin, between our representatives and the town council representatives? Everybody's pretty much together, there's no
Oh, yeah.
dissemination or
Yeah, I mean, it's a good group
discrepancies
of
there?
people. There's two citizens, Lou being one of them, and then Eric Jensen, who lives in the pit, is the other one. And there's good, people throw things out there that we say, oh, let's look at that and put a twist in it. And, if things do stay status quo, we talked about some things that could possibly change. But, right now it's in such a, high-level draft form that there's really nothing, one way or another. We're all still open-minded. I don't think anyone in that room on a committee has a preference of one way or another. We're just letting the chips fall where they will and look at them then.
Thank you. Any questions?
you have anything to add?
No,
Yeah.
that was it.
You'll- Okay,
Jim, I just want to say that
Sure.
I'm really appreciative of everyone, our group, our guys, Lou and the folks in the town that are looking at this. I mean, there was a very strong suggestion from the Blue Ribbon Panel Committee that we do this, and I'm very, very excited that we are doing this. And Neil and Kevin, I'm really looking forward to what your final recommendation is.
Yeah, our next meeting is the 13th.
13th of April.
Yeah, at 6:30 in the fire station conference room.
Okay, Annex Building Lease Committee.
Oh, that's me too, I guess.
Okay, have at it.
On that one, we got with the town representatives, Tim Kurtz and, was it,
Was it Phil? No, it wasn't
no,
Phil.
it was,
Garrett Reed.
Garrett Reed. Garrett's been out of town for the past week or so on vacation. We did, on the mud side, we did come up with a draft form that I submitted to our general manager, and she submitted it to the attorneys for a couple changes. And then what we will do is give it to the town side to see if, give their view of it. There still needs to be another lease on the existing offices that I'd like to package deal. And as I said, Garrett Reed's been out of pocket, so I really haven't touched base with him as far as the office spaces that they will continue to utilize until their town hall or whatever is built.
If there is one. Okay, any questions? Item C.
All right,
Oh.
that falls on me.
Jennifer?
No.
Okay.
Neil?
On C, this is impact of the 65 or over exemption on district customers. Director Thomas asked to be included on the agenda, and because I'm working on the FECC on something similar, I had a lot of the data put together, and I consulted with Renee, who reinforced some of the numbers, and so she gave me some great input. But basically, if you're 65 or older and you have filed the necessary exemption form with either Tarrant County or Denton County, then you have a $25,000 exemption off your basically a reduction of your property value. Right now, we have a total of 664 customers who, for your budget purposes, last year took advantage of this. And that amount, together, when you break it down, there's 632 for $15,430,000 in Denton County, and there's also 65 homeowners for $684,000. Now, the reason it won't work out to be exactly $25,000 exactly is there's a crazy county border going through our mud district, and some people have like a quarter of their yard in Tarrant County, and the rest of their property might be, and then when it zigzags up Inverness, you have other homes there. So you have some people who were able to take, advantage of it in Denton County, but on the Tarrant County side, it might be a smaller amount. So if you divide the 25,000 into the larger number, it comes out pretty close to 25,000. It's like 24,000 something, but when you do it for the Tarrant County side, it's like 13,000. So, and the only thing that made sense is when they moved the border, they crisscrossed so many yards. But the real effect is it's a reduction in revenue, in tax revenue of $22,559.
Well, Neil and Kevin, the other three of us appreciate these humanitarian moves that you're making.
The sacrifice.
Neil, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Do we have any feel, either accurate or just guesstimate, as to how many 65 and older have not signed up to use this?
No, I mean, again, it has to be a homestead. So you may have somebody 65 or older, but if they have another property they consider their homestead, they can't claim too.
So they just from my own understanding, so they need to have claimed their home as a homestead,
Right.
which I understand that process. So if you go to your appraisal form that you get annually, is that where it shows up that you've got a $25,000 exemption
Yeah.
from the MUD?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so if you don't have that on your form, then you haven't.
Yeah,
You have
I
an
mean,
opted to do
if
it.
you're home, you still, I think, if you're turning 65, you should get, it's a form you can download from Denton County's Central Appraisal District site, or in what they call a TAD, Tarrant County Appraisal District site. And it's the same form, it's a state form, and you just
Jim, you
check
can
it
also,
off.
you can look on the TAD or the, is
Yeah.
it DAD? DCAD, I guess.
DCAD.
You can look at those websites and you can see if you have that exemption on your property too. If you can't find your tax statement is what I'm getting at, you can look on the website.
My wife files everything. We have the tax. And by the way, I'll go look because, look, I may have done this, I don't know, whenever this policy went into effect, 10, 20, 15 years ago, I don't know. I may have done this. It's just, I have no memory of it, and so I don't think I did. What caused it is a resident happened to ask me the question about do we do anything like others do for people that are over 65? And I didn't have an answer for him, but I do now. Neil, I really appreciate you know, what you sent me, because it was very, very helpful to get back to the individual.
Okay.
Let me mention, if I may, there is a deadline each year for filing that application to get the exemption. And I forget if it's the end of March or the end of April. It's one of those. Do one of you know that off the top of your head?
I think it's the end of April.
I think it's the end of April.
Do you know where you can find that out, Bob?
Well, it's on the website.
And it's also on the form.
And on the form.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, but if you file that, then it's retroactive to January the 1st. For the whole year, you have until that deadline to file your request for exemption. And if you don't file it by the right time, then you don't get it. So you can't go in later and do it. And either person, either spouse in a household, if they're over 65, will qualify the whole piece of property for that homestead exemption.
Thank you, Bob.
Does the property have to be in both their names for it to qualify?
Uncertain about that.
Bob, Jim Thomas has forgotten this because it's been so many years ago when he applied for it. So, you know, after 15 or 20 years, you have a tendency to forget that.
Jim, I will go check my statement.
Any other questions? If not, let's move on to item 14, General Manager's Monthly Report for February 2015. Jennifer?
Okay, I'm just going to see if you all have any questions about any of the items on the manager's report. I am going to spend a little bit of time going through the information on the TCQ NOV that we received. But before I get to that, does anyone have any questions on the water or wastewater or other utility billing reports?
No, but item D.
I just want to hear Mike say something. Make up something. I didn't get a violation.
Okay, yes, item D. I'm sorry I skipped over that one. I have two on there I need to talk about, the appointment of the peace officer and the water fest issue. First of all, on the appointment of the peace officer, I met with, I had an idea after our last meeting you all had asked me to look at the properties that are not in the mud and not in the PID and work with the town on some sort of an agreement to cover those properties with our fire service. And then later in the meeting, we talked about the need for, a possible need for a peace officer to enforce our rules within the district and in areas. And you all had asked me to look into finding a certified peace officer that we could appoint. Well, it occurred to me that possibly we could combine those two items. And since we were going to be doing some sort of a mutual aid or interlocal agreement with the town for the district to provide service, instead of having some sort of compensation, that maybe the town would be willing to have their police department serve as our police officers or peace officers in the district, areas that are outside of the town. Kind of the same thing. They would be serving areas that are outside of the town, and our fire department would be serving areas that are outside of the district. After having this idea, the police chief was actually on vacation, and I think Danny got sick and I got sick, and it was kind of hard getting a meeting set up, but we finally got a meeting set up on Monday, and that was not something that the town is interested in. They do not feel that it would be it would be a good idea for them to have the police go over into Westlake, into our area in Westlake. And so we went back to the idea. They felt like, well, we can provide service here in Trophy Club. And I said, well, you already provide service here in Trophy Club. So we'll move back to the idea of compensation, and we'll talk a little more about that when we get down to the fire report. So that's kind of where I'm going to end that. But that was where I was at on finding a peace officer. I thought that might be the best opportunity. I thought it was a real good way that we could, we could do something for the town and the town could do something for us, but it's not something that will work out. So I will go back to the drawing board and see what I can find as far as a peace officer. Chief Arata did suggest that I talk with Keller. Keller does provide service into the Westlake area, so that's probably my next step is I'll contact them.
On that topic, I just want to, I know your answer, but for the record, MUDs are allowed to have peace officers. I've looked it up. There's a number of MUDs that have peace officers. Is that correct?
Yes, MUDs are allowed. It's through the water code to appoint peace officers or contract with police departments. We're allowed to do both of those things.
Jennifer, isn't Keller under contract with Westlake to provide police services to Westlake?
Yes.
Yes, they're saying yes. I don't know the answer, but everyone else is saying yes, so they must be.
A contract.
The reason I bring that up is it could potentially be a conflict of interest for us to use Keller as a peace officer, considering that some of the things we might want oversight on are in the city of Westlake. Might be a conflict since they are outsourced to Westlake. They might be at cross purposes.
Right.
You could hire an an officer for off-duty too. A lot of MUDs do that. A lot of them hire full-time.
Yeah, I just wanted to
I
bring that
think
up.
the issue I had, and I kind of struggled with, if you hire someone that's an off-duty police officer, and then when you need them, they're on duty, what do you do? So that was kind of where I don't know how that would really work unless there were multiple, maybe, off-duty peace officers.
Look, I only brought it up in that you could consider maybe Roanoke. There's no conflict there.
So certainly I don't know that any of the other police departments are going to be willing to do that, but I can certainly ask.
Yeah, may not. Keller may not either, but I just mentioned it only because Keller might have a conflict of interest.
Sure. So I'm still working on that. Is the where we're at right now on that?
Is the police officer, is one of his avenues available to him to check on people watering on off days?
Absolutely.
Gonna set up a little district jail. or
They
something?
enforce all district rules.
Judge Hayes. Get a reality show. Get a reality show. Judge Hayes.
We could get a cable channel.
Okay, Jennifer.
All right, well, if you don't have any other questions, I'll kind of go over the notice of violation. We did have an inspection back in January. It was in response to a customer complaint. I believe odor was the issue. And so they came out and they did a preliminary inspection, and it was also time for our 3-year inspection. So they they found nothing related to the odor complaint, but they set up to come back out and do the full inspection about a week later at that time. When they came out, there were some treatment issues. The mechanical bar screen was not operational. I know y'all have been aware of that for a long time. It took a long time for us to get the links in, and a gear was the final piece. We were waiting for a gearbox, right? And so the day that he came out, it was down, and when we got that in, it was fixed immediately. If you look at Exhibit B, that's one that I thought was rather interesting. The photos that I've placed in here will be sending to TCQ as our compliance report. Exhibit B, you see the manual bar screen. And if you look to the left side of the picture, the bar screen was moved over about a half an inch or a quarter of an inch to the right, which made the gap between the wall and that first bar of the bar screen about a quarter to a half inch wider than on the other side. That was what he wrote us up, that
It wasn't centered.
it wasn't centered. And that happens when you have large debris, rags and things go through the screen. It will push that over a little bit. But what they're doing is every day they're checking the bar screen to see if it gets pushed over at all. The other issue is the only, or I should say, the one of these that worries us a little more than anything else, because this was an issue in our last major inspection, and that was the foaming. And the reason the foaming is there is because we don't have enough treatment capacity. And that was why we submitted a compliance report to TCQ to begin with. But the same problem was out there when they came out this time, because we have not done the upgrade yet. So that issue does worry me a little bit. But with speaking with the supervisor over the section of the regional office, as well as the inspector that was out there, they were both fully aware that we're on the compliance schedule. The issues that we ran into with the developer suing the TCQ, they were fully aware of all that. So I don't think this is going to lead to any sort of enforcement, but we definitely want to get this problem fixed, which is what we're working on. And we will later in the meeting talk about setting a special meeting to at long last take the bids for the wastewater plant upgrade. So we're almost there. The other issue that they wrote us up for, they said there were some weeds and plants growing in the drying beds. In the wintertime, we do not use the drying beds. The guys had cleaned them out, but I guess they missed some of the weeds, and they wrote us up for that.
Isn't that where we get all our tomato plants?
That's where my watermelons. Did they put my watermelons?
There actually are.
Don't they
You know,
understand?
we tried to offer him a watermelon, but it was the wrong time of year, so no.
It was big though.
They do get big out there, but no. There were some weeds, but but in the wintertime, that's when you will get weeds growing out there, because we don't use the drying beds. It's so wet and yucky out, it's not going to dry the sludge any further than we can get through the belt press. So, but as you can see from the photos, the guys did a real good job of getting all of that cleaned out real good for the inspectors' photos. Additionally, they said that there was excessive scum and flock in the aeration basins, and you can see that there are some specks of the flock around in there. And again, that's from leaving it into the aeration basin because of the lowered treatment capacity.
This person that came out, isn't he the new inspector they just brought on board?
Yes, he is a very new guy.
Probably like his under 10 inspections or something.
Yes. I think this was probably his first major inspection of a wastewater plant, but
Right.
but the other items that you see on here are the sanitary sewer overflows. These were all reported at the time they occurred, which was back in 2014. I'm on the wrong one. This is the ammonia violation that we had back in May of 2014. It actually is the same sample result, but it resulted in 2 violations. The first violation is because we exceeded the permit limit. The permit limit is 1, and the sample result in May was 1.78. It also resulted in a second violation because if you're 40% over your permit limit, that's another violation. So 1.4 would be 40%. This was 1.78. Both of these were reported, and so that the TCQ was fully aware of that. But they look back at 5 years of your operational, they can look back up to 5 years on your operational reports. And so he looked back through all of 2014, and this is the violation that we had that was reported. On the sanitary sewer overflows, did he look back 2 or 3 years? 2 years. Okay. So he looked back 2 years on the sanitary sewer overflows. So you'll see that the ones that he wrote us up for were in, the unauthorized discharges were in 2013. One was in January, and one was in April, and I believe the third one was in September. December, I'm sorry.
One of those was a manhole cover or something, wasn't it? Or?
Yes, it was sewage coming out of a manhole lid. It was a very small amount. Cumulatively, it was about 7,000 gallons. Sanitary sewer overflows occur. If there's a stoppage in the line, the sewer will come out, and there's a cleanup protocol, and you can see we responded immediately, and we reported within 24 hours as required after the cleanup. 24 hours of the spill, and you have to clean up immediately and report within 24 hours. So that is what all of the sanitary sewer overflows are that are on there.
Just to back up, on the manhole cover, that was a construction error, wasn't it? Wasn't it concrete or something like that caused that? Do you remember? And then the other one was like a grease trap or something, wasn't it?
No, one was at a lift station, I believe.
No, it wasn't. Okay.
He's talking about the one on August 21st. A line stoppage on Quorum Drive caused approximately 70 gallons of sewage to flow out of a manhole. I don't remember that being a developer. That was
No, it wasn't.
No, that was not a
No.
developer. That was just a line stoppage that was grease was in the line.
I remember one was grease or something
Yes,
like that.
it was grease in the line that caused the sewer line to stop up and it overflowed.
I had a main break that same night.
Yes, that's right. Mike had a main break the same night, so we had the sewer guys right by the water guys all working on different problems, but they were somewhat close together.
And Bert was in a hole somewhere, I'm sure.
This traveling bore screen has been a problem for like 3 years now. Do we feel like we've about got that thing to where it's gonna run for a while?
Well, we feel like we've got it running until we can get rid of it altogether when we have the plant upgrade. It's just kind of limping by. But yes, it is running right now.
I think it was a couple of $100,000 and a very poor choice to buy it in the first place, but that's happened over and done with. But I just worry about keeping it running now, and maybe another year or so, we can keep it going long enough to get.
It kind of reminds me of my college car. I think we fixed everything on it once, so surely it'll drive now. I don't know, but because I do feel like since I've been here, we've repaired every single piece of it at least once.
Yeah, I think the original problem was the design on it was very poor.
Right.
You know? And I mean, they didn't figure out the length. The longer you go, the more fragile it becomes.
Anything else, Jennifer?
No, so that's all I have. Oh, yes, I do have one other thing. I wanted to talk about quickly give y'all an update on the letters I sent out to the developers in town. We've had a really good response from the developers, understanding our new policy for agreements directly with the district for development. Dries Holmes, I spoke with him at the end of last week, and he was actually very excited. He said that he thought it was very odd the way that we had done development in the past, very different from any other mud district that they had worked with, in that we had this combined with the town, and they had always had a direct agreement with every municipal utility district that they've worked with. So their only concern was they were concerned that this could now hold up their project. And I assured all that I spoke with that this will not hold up anybody's project. We want to just get these on the books so that at the end of the project, we'll be able to get the infrastructure appropriately conveyed directly over to the mud. So those are moving along, and I think we will probably see, it could be as many as 6 development agreements for approval on next month's agenda. So we'll have our hands full next month with those.
Okay, if there are no questions, Chief Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Moss. You have a report in front of me. February was a cold month. We had some really cold weather during the month. We had a couple of heavy weather days. We didn't turn a wheel on the ice day. Everybody stayed home and behaved themselves. No major incidents per se. They stayed pretty busy on the service side of it, doing either smoke detectors or lockouts. I think we had a record amount of vehicle lockouts for the month of February for some reason through our record system. So we had 36 EMS calls and 24 fire calls for the month of February. I'd like to address the board and tell the board and have the board do a shout out to Haslett Fire Department. They came by the station yesterday and delivered 30 cases of water.
Oh,
you know, they did one of those outreach programs with DFW Scanner and their volunteers to get water for the summer for the heat and stuff. And they got over 22 pallets of water. So they made a distribution to all the departments around here. So they called me Sunday afternoon on my cell phone and said, "Can we bring you some water?" And I said, "Sure." So they brought us 30 cases of water. So. Good. Any questions on the fire report?
I got a question regarding, you mentioned during the ice storms and stuff, and then last night you mentioned in our committee meeting that you were the emergency coordinator.
Emergency management coordinator for the town,
okay.
Yes.
Do we have procedures and were they carried out during the ice storms?
Yes.
Or?
Yes. We never opened the EOC as far as getting all the departments together at one time, but we were in direct contact, constantly in contact with the streets, through PD, streets department, me, Jennifer.
So you communicated between all the departments?
Okay. Yes. Even while I was laying on my deathbed for a couple of 4 days there, I was answering emails and making phone calls and making sure that we had staff coming in to back up. And
do you have like an SOP or process that you follow when those things come up?
Yeah, we have an emergency management plan, yes.
Okay.
Danny, your response time jumped up a couple of minutes. Was it because of weather or was there other causes for it?
On the
average response time? Jump from four, almost 5 minutes up to almost 7 minutes.
Yeah, it just depends on where the call's at in the duration of the call, or where we're at, or what's going on. I can't, you know.
Well, no, the reason I asked was, if you go back and look at it from the first of the year, it was a full minute over the worst you've ever had, 2 minutes over last month. And I just wondered, was it weather that's causing this, or is it something else causing it?
Probably a little bit of it was weather related. As far as the response times and stuff, but most of all, it's just, you know, where we're at and what we're doing, and the time is what calculates on the
You know where I'm coming from. You
Right,
want to get that fire real quick.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Danny, the ladder truck comparison made us look pretty good, didn't it?
It does. It does. Roanoke's ladder truck. That was the truck that they bid for us when we went through our bid process. That's the exact truck that they bid to us, and they came in us at 113, I believe, and Pierce come in at 1.95. So all 3 trucks. Well, I will break it away a little bit, and you can look at the comparison if you got any questions on that. I'll answer. But Grapevine's truck, that is a true truck. That is a a bucket truck that carries, has men in that can go up on the ladder, 2 men in the bucket itself, has 1,000-pound tip load, flowing 1,000 GPMs of water. They have a small pump, so they have to be chased by a pumper to give them water to supply large volumes of water. So that truck is a true ladder truck itself. Roanoke's Quint and our Quint are pretty much the same, other than the few little options. They did the light tower, and they don't do foam. We did foam and the tank size and stuff like that. So we got some very comparable ladders in our area for our homes and businesses and everything else. So.
Okay, any further questions for Chief Thomas?
No, but I have a couple of things on his report. Actually, one thing on his report, and then I'm going to have to ask to back up to my report because I forgot something that Terry and I wanted to cover quickly under the manager's report. But Danny may want to give y'all some information on the ILA. But what I wanted to point out is for Jim Thomas on page 330 of the packet, that's the map that I was referring to that shows the all the properties that are out of district.
330's up.
And you can see there's a vacant property up by the elevated storage tank. The town's elevated storage tank. They're off Bobcat. Next to that, there's a property. Now these 3 pink ones are officially annexed. I was afraid because I put that it was already annexed that would jinx us and something would happen to the LDS tonight. So that's why we're very happy it's finally officially done. But those are done. So it's all of these others. It's these well sites. This map is going to have to be updated actually because if you look down, it shows a residential 2344 Trophy Park Drive. I did not realize that is actually 2 properties. So there's a second address that goes with that, and it's only showing the one address, but that is 2 separate property owners. One is 2344 Trophy Park Drive. That is not in the district or the PID. And then the one next to it, which maybe is 2342 Trophy Park Drive. I don't know for sure, but I'll add that on here. Then the rest are well sites, and then there is the residence at 56 Meadowbrook Drive. That's all of the ones that look like they are not annexed into the mud and they are not part of the PID.
Jennifer's Meadowbrook Lane, right? Not Meadowbrook Drive.
I'm sorry. Is it Meadowbrook Lane?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I just put that wrong. So, yes.
Yeah.
Were you going to address the item D on your report, the SOPs? You have a handout here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did miss that. Jennifer wanted me to put this in there as far as all the new gear we're buying in our inspection process and in the requirements and the compliance through TCFP, the commission. That's our inspection process we do for all the gear that on a daily basis and a routine basis. Anytime that the guys are any kind of extremity, mud, water, fire, smoke, or anything that goes through a routine check and then a thorough cleaning. And so,
Mr. West.
On your
Let me, on the map, Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
once upon a time, the cemetery was not annexed into the mud. I don't know if it ever has been or not, but at one time it was excluded from what was the mud boundaries. I think it's within the town, but I don't think it was ever part of the mud. I think it was a save and accept
Okay.
when the legal description was done.
I will ask,
Check that.
the map that you're seeing there is one that I asked the Wallace Group to do. I guess it's probably been 2 years ago now. And you will note that a lot of the streets or the developments are now there.
Yeah.
This was the last map, I guess, base map that Tignall and Perkins had. And they provided it to them, and they're using it as a GPS layering map. So I just kind of ran out of funds, so I haven't been able to get some more put in there. But it also got kind of brushed to the wayside for a little while. And I think you mentioned to me when we first got this.
Right.
And I will get back with Bob. I'm sorry, too many Bobs again. Kevin, Bobs and Kevins. That's all we have around here. But I'll get with Kevin on that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. He actually asked me something about the meets and bounds. He wasn't really sure. I don't know. So I'll get with him on that.
Okay.
Kevin, you
Yeah,
have it.
well, back to the SOPs. I mean, I requested this, a copy of the SOPs, and I got a disc. I don't know if it came from you or whatever. But on the disc, you have two sections. One is PDFs, and you signed them sometime September of 12.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's working documents on that disc. The working document for what you gave us tonight, 704, is dated the 13th
Right.
of, or 11th of February and 13.
Right.
But it was never implemented into the other one.
And that's what they are, working documents. Like I told Jennifer, I've been working on these documents for a couple of years now, and especially after we made the adjustment between the lieutenant and the captain. So if you'll notice here, all the designated as far as the captain in charge, the lieutenant's been taken out of this. So I've been working on these documents and getting them updated.
Okay,
and-
but 2 years, I think, is a little extensive, you know, as far as safety for the firefighters. And that's what I'm looking at. The whole picture is the safety of our firefighters and EMS. And we follow, from what I understand, 1851?
Right.
On NFPA?
Right.
Okay. In NFPA, section 2.3, records.
Okay.
Okay, it has a specific section, and it calls out for everything that we should be keeping records of.
Right.
Do we have those records?
Yes, we do. We do it
Okay.
in the firehouse.
Okay,
We do.
could I see those, or just review them to get a warm fuzzy that we actually
Sure,
have them?
Sure.
Because
I will say, we'll tell you something on 3/12 of the last week. We got an update from the Texas Fire Commission. They just sent out another risk assessment requirement that goes in effect, and we should have it all in effect by what's the deadline on it? Of 17. So we're, like I told Jennifer, we're well ahead of the curve as far as our
I
compliance.
guess this handout that you provided, you know, says the inspection and guidelines and stuff. It doesn't match, or, you know, some of the items are on here, but it doesn't match the 1851 if we're following that. I mean, it has person to whom the element is issued to, date and condition, manufacturer, dates, and then date of retirements, date, method of disposal. So we've been keeping up with disposing and
Yeah,
stuff.
we have those records in Firehouse.
And then you have the firehouse.
And that's what, when the commission comes in and does our compliance check, just like TCQ comes in and does y'all's, they come in and they check our book. And in this book is our records with this. This is our Firehouse Daily PPE check.
Yeah, but this is done by one person when they log in. This one's at 6:30 on the 18th.
Right.
Is there a backup sheet where each individual says, I inspected my gear, or is it just one person?
No, there's not a backup
accounting?
sheet. Everybody checks this gear off. They know that they have to do this every day, and they do this before they put their gear on the trucks. There's not a check-off list. And they go in there and they get with the captain and they fill out the activity report in Firehouse.
But one
There's
person.
not a check-off list. They, you know, this is their job. This is their livelihood. This is what
Yeah,
saves their.
but what I'm getting at, Danny, is there's one person files this,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and he's speaking for 3 or 4 other people. Is there a piece of paper or a document that the individual that has that PPE has inspected his gear, or is the captain or whoever does this saying, yeah, everybody does it? And I mean, after a time, it becomes routine. Like, he doesn't even want to hear from the people. He just goes in and does this. I've seen it happen. That's why. So there's no individual signing off that they inspected their gear.
There's this policy right here, and the checklist on this policy talks about each piece of gear about being soiled, contaminated, physical damage, tears, cuts, rips, or whatever. This is what they go by. This is their policy. If they don't do it and something happens, or we do a spot check or whatever, then they can be, you know, reprimanded too.
And
But
that's
there's
never
not
happened.
They don't go out there with a checklist and go, yep.
Yeah, again, it's just their safety of the people. You know, if you say, well, John Doe or whatever, you know, Gary inspected his equipment. Well, he might not have inspected it, but the captain signed it off, so you have a record saying it's been done. But I guess it's you know, it's a backup of saying the individual who the gear is issued to has approved or inspected his gear. He's the one that, you know, respected. If he gets hurt and the gear is torn, ripped, worn, or hadn't been, like we brought up, hadn't been getting inspected on an annual basis, then we're liable. But if he says he inspected it, then we're off the hook.
Yeah, but it,
Just making a statement.
okay.
Jim, I have a
Okay,
question.
Director Thomas.
Jennifer, quick question for you, and thank you very much for the map. I know about the Venables on 56 Meadowbrook, and it is on my to-do list to go knock on the door and find out if they're still, you know, alive and kicking. But who owns this vacant lot? Well, there's three questions here. Who owns the vacant lot up at Byron Nelson? Who owns the two lots at 2344 Trophy Park Drive? And who owns the 6 wells? And the last question is, what are we doing, what do we need to be doing to go to these owners of these properties and move them in the direction of being annexed?
Well, I think there needs to be some thought put into if we want these properties to be annexed, and I'll get to that in a minute. Now, the one up there by the elevated storage tank, that property is, I don't know who owns it, and I think the town folks are going to see if they can look and figure that out, who owns it.
Is that kind of back behind the high school?
It's, yeah, right next door to the elevated storage tank and behind the high school. Okay, so on these other sites, like let's look at these well sites. If we were to, and this is kind of probably going to be somewhat of a legal question too, but if we annex those properties, if a developer wants to develop it, we can certainly require that they extend service to themselves. But it would be our responsibility to provide service to them if they're in our district and they would be annexed into our district. We don't have any infrastructure up there in that whole green area that's the PID. So they're going to have to extend lines all the way back to the closest mud area, wherever that may be, to extend service to those areas. So I think it's not quite as simple as these other ones that are right there adjacent to the district. That's a pretty much a no-brainer. Sure, let's annex them, you know. But I don't think that we want to go approach these people about annexation. I think if they want to be annexed, great. We can address it then and make it very clear that if they plan to extend service then, if they plan to get service, they're going to have to extend the lines all the way to wherever the nearest district lines infrastructure is at.
Do we cover 2344? Do our lines cover that property?
No, well, we do have that adjacent, yeah. If you look at next to it, what is that, Churchill Downs?
Yeah.
Churchill.
And so they could be extended from that area. I mean, I assume, I don't know looking at this map where the lines are, but I'm certain that they're close enough that it wouldn't be too much of an issue to get water, water and sewer service extended to them. And I think that they would be funding it, but it would be economically possible that for them to do it.
Jennifer, that blue area is the gated community right before you get to the park?
Churchill Downs.
Yeah, but by the dog park is my understanding. It's across from the dog park.
Across the street from the dog park, right.
Entrance is further down from that white area. Isn't that the guy that used to do the Jasper Hayes property?
People here.
Which I don't have
Jasper Hayes.
The people on Trophy Park Drive right now, they do have a well at this time.
I think it's Jasper Hayes. He used to cut the medians and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think Churchill Downs where Jasper Hayes was at. I think the Colemans have been there a long, long time, and then the Welch's property was just a piece of it. Or could it be the Welch's property? I'm not sure.
Okay. I knew Jasper.
In fact, I think it was. The Welch property backs up to the well site there, and that used to be Jasper's place.
Yeah, Donna Welch bought that.
Yeah, Donna Welch bought that piece of
They
property.
have a well. Are they paying for fire service?
No.
No, they're not.
They're not in the district.
Neither one.
None of those that are marked white on here pay for fire service. They are not in the mud, and they are not in the PID.
That's why we need.
We
that
don't have
agreement.
we are not really, under the water code, we are not to provide service outside our district. So the town needs to work with us on an agreement to provide service there. So that's where then the question became the compensation, and where we ended with, now that we're on this item, I guess I can kind of continue with the fire agreement, because they did not want to do it where it was the police do the police for us and the fire does the fire for them. Danny looked at the FEMA costs, or the FEMA allotted,
Rate scales,
what do they call it? The
rate scales.
rate
equipment
scales
scales,
for
personnel.
like the equipment, the quint, the type of piece of equipment. We're looking at doing a 2-hour minimum, and for both equipment and labor costs, that if there's a fire at one of those areas, Stephen said that they would look at budgeting, say, about $5,000 a year, the town would. And if there is a fire at one of those areas, we would go fight the fire, and we would bill them for that based on those rates that we come up with. And they would pay us for that. Then they would try to bill the property owner, and if they can't get payment from the property owner, they would put a lien on their property. But that the town would pay us for if we go to that location to fight a fire.
That really just applies right now to 2344, right?
No, to all the well
We had a
sites.
fire on the
Oh, the
well
well
site.
sites as well, okay.
Yes.
Get
Now,
in on
I
that.
just, I
And
guess,
the one on Meadowbrook,
guess where I'm headed is I wonder if the home property owner at 2344 is aware of this and is aware that they're not in our mud and they're not covered by our fire department. You know, I mean, why would we not treat them just like we did the LDS church, whatever process we went through with the church? Why would we not also do that with this property owner to try to get them incorporated into the mud?
the process for all of those properties was by the town. The
Now-
town stated that because we told the town, we sent the town a letter that said we won't provide water and wastewater service anymore to these properties that are outside the district unless they get annexed into the district because they won't have fire service. We, about a year and a half ago, we sent the town a letter stating that.
Well-
So it's the town. Now, I will say that, that the LDS they were very agreeable to it, but it's just a very bureaucratic, organization that it took a long time to get it to go through.
And please understand, I fully follow you. I understand. I'm looking at the map now, why we might not want to worry about the well sites. I mean, they're in the pit. I don't know how you do it without long, expensive pipes. But this vacant, just like this vacant property and this 2344, and I will go talk to the Venerables, are the only three properties left outside of the well sites that are not in the mud that possibly could easily be and definitely should be. And what do we need to do to try to make that happen? Just focused on those three sites only.
I mean, to me, it came up at last night's meeting. I can't see Lou back there, but the town is responsible for fire service to the town. Anything in the town, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, it's the town that needs to take the lead on this and advise the people that they don't have any fire service. It's not us as a MUD to do it. We can't touch them. They're not in our district.
Well, Kevin, Jennifer said we sent them a letter over a year ago. I think maybe we need to remind them we got these three pieces of property out there we'd like for them to look at.
The town?
Yeah, if that's the process you've got to
You
go
all
through.
directed me last month to work with Stephen to get an interlocal agreement to provide fire services to these properties outside the district, that are outside the district and outside the PID. And that's what this is an update on, I'm working on that.
Well, look, forgive me. I understand fully why it makes sense to do that specific thing with the well sites. I understand that.
And the other
But
properties.
all the other properties
All the
too. I
properties.
mean,
Let me
they,
finish. You got three other pieces of property out there that are basically residential sites. The Venerables, we have a long-standing agreement with that we've got to go back and find out if they are still there. Because if they're not, that agreement doesn't exist anymore.
They are still, the Miss Venerable still lives in that home.
Okay. Then, but
and I think the conversation came up with the other two pieces of property that when Churchill Downs annexed into the, or annexed in the mud. They were, with the other, a lady that lives behind the dog park way back in the thing, that they didn't want to be annexed by the town
Correct.
at that time. So there was a big stink there when they did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you know, we're trying to clean things up, and it just I understand, Jennifer, what you're doing, and I guess you just have to keep doing that. But these 3 pieces of personal property are different from the well sites because they are in our territory already, whereas the well sites are not.
Okay, any further discussion?
What territory are you talking about, just
Our district,
They're not.
They're not in our district, Jim.
I'm sorry, let me say it again. They're within the boundaries of our district.
They're adjacent. I think what he's trying to say is they would be easy to extend service to them. But Jim, they don't want service from us, and they don't want to be annexed into the district. And so I don't know why. I mean, at this point, it's not the district's responsibility to make sure they have fire service. It's the town's responsibility.
You're on the right path. If they're telling us they absolutely do not want service, now, we do need to find out. Apparently, we don't even know who owns that vacant lot yet. So we don't know if they want service or not. But the other two, if those homeowners are saying what they said, then you're right. They got to be included in the ILA.
Yeah, I don't want to continue on with this, but you said that the well sites, the town, is when they have a fire, we're going to bill them like up to 5,000 or whatever.
Whatever said, I put the rates together
No,
as
it
far
wa-
as equipment and stuff.
Well, whatever the rate is,
Right,
they don't pay anything until they have a fire, right?
Right.
right.
Can I get in on that, on my house? Don't have to pay fire taxes until I have a
Are
need.
you over 65
Post-after.
too?
Yeah, is a cafeteria plan, I'll take that one there.
You know,
I don't agree with that, but, the town.
Okay, anything further? If not, we will now move into our closed session. The time is,
Jim, we did want to loop back to the manager's report one thing real quick.
okay, you're on.
It was something that I had asked Terry to make sure she mentioned to y'all during the financials. So Terry, you're on.
I just wanted to let the board know that when we booked the entry to remove the hardware pieces, that it was split with the town. We finally received the check, and when I did the entry, we do have a loss on the 3 products that was included within that hardware that we still had on our books. Totaled all 3 together, it's about almost $41,000. The majority of that is the IT servers, which that loss was almost $38,000 itself.
Okay. Any questions? No further
All right.
questions?
Well, that's all we had then.
Okay, we will now move into our closed session. The time is 9:02. Pam, would you like to read this?
Yes.
Thanks, Lou.
The board will conduct a closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Annotated, Chapter 551, Subchapter D for the following. Pursuant to Section 551.071, the district will consult with its attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Open Meetings Act, or to seek advice of counsel on legal matters involving pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers. A. Trespass upon land allegation by McGuire Partners Solana Land LP. B. Agreement regarding relocation of utility infrastructure improvements, Solana, with McGuire Partners Solana Land LP. C. Temporary restraining order, temporary injunction, and permanent injunction proceedings pending in the 48th District Court of Tarrant County, Texas. D. Pending litigation in cause number 14-03540-158 in the District Court of Denton County relating to access to the 3.996 acres of land purchased by the district from BDMR Development, LLC in January of 2013. E. Terms of potential lease with the Town of Trophy Club for use of district annex building located at 100 Municipal Drive. And F. Conveyance of water and wastewater infrastructure as requirement of service.
Thank you, Pam. Let's take a 10-minute break so Kevin can get something to eat and drink. And then
Lori's not ready.
wave at me, Laurie.
Oh, she's holding us up.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Here we go, Miguel. We will now reconvene into the regular session. The time is 10:14. Item 17, consider and take appropriate action regarding closed session items. We do not have any action to take on the closed session items. Number 18, items for future agendas.
Mr. President, for a future agenda, and it's because we're reviewing the EMS and the fire departments right now, I'd like the board to take up a succession plan. As leaders, we're reluctant to plan for what might happen if key individuals are no longer with the MUD, usually because it's unpleasant to deal with their retirement or as mortality. After the FECC submits its final report, I'd like the board to address a succession plan for the fire department's chief.
Fine, okay. Any other items for the next agenda? Future agenda? We can always come up with these later if anybody has something. 19, set next meeting dates, a special meeting. Jennifer?
Okay, we are going to be taking the bids on the wastewater treatment plant on, I believe, March 26th, yes. After all this time, all this hurry, work, and planning, I'm going to be not able to go to the bid opening. So, turned out the same day that we have the other meeting, so. But anyway, they will need a week or so to put the bids together. It's gonna be a lot. So we were looking at the week of April the 6th to set up a special meeting. And I know one of you is going to be out the 8th through the 10th. So the question is the 6th or the 7th. And I believe, it just kind of, I don't have my calendar, but I believe that the 6th would not work for Keven. So that kind of leaves us the 7th. And so I guess my question is, would the 7th work for everyone? I think
7th,
one of the
okay.
directors
I would
said
say
April 8th, yeah.
Just personally for Kevin and I, the afternoon would be better than the morning.
Okay.
Okay,
The
Jennifer.
afternoon of
Yeah,
the
it's okay.
7th?
Yeah, that's fine.
Looks like we're okay, Jennifer.
You don't have to
Okay,
come from
I'll
home.
confirm that and then I'll let y'all know, but the afternoon is what you're preferring,
Anytime after 1, is
Yeah,
that?
anytime
yeah.
after one should work.
after 1 PM. Okay.
Okay, next regular meeting is scheduled for April 21st. Is there any problems anybody has with that? If not, we will leave that at April the 21st.
Before you adjourn and everyone tries to rush out, do not forget that Saturday is Waterfest.
Oh, that's Saturday, huh?
That's this Saturday.
Don't
So you should
forget, I won't be there.
So we will look forward to seeing all of you that can get there as early as possible, 8 AM to 8:30. We'd appreciate it if you can make that. Well, there's work to do in advance. Don't worry, I'm gonna pay y'all double time.
Okay, the
Nothing times nothing.
Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1 Board of Directors regular meeting is hereby adjourned at 10:18.